Hi, welcome back to the Face to Face podcast. I'm Sheree here with
My name is Alisa.
Vita.
Anna.
and today we are going to be talking about the benefits of the garden and green space. Alisa, what is your involvement in the garden at Face to Face?
Well, I am kind of the main staff who gets to run the garden class. So I get to be out there with students, figuring out what plants are growing, how we want to harvest and cook with it. I'm doing a lot of sharing around all the different bugs and butterflies that are out there, and just sort of like the general upkeep of the space. That's kind of my role here at Face to Face with the garden.
Do you like it?
I love it. Yeah. It's actually how I first found Face to Face was by being just one of the elective teachers. You know how you have your fourth hour and sometimes we have providers that come in and teach a class?
Yes.
That's how I started. I started as just someone who's here fourth hour teaching the garden class. And then I got hooked. So I'm here all the time now. But I love it, yeah. Yep.
Did your garden class get bigger or smaller
I think
since you
we've
started?
had way more students sign up, so it's growing, yep. And I'd say more people are interested in like the cooking and sort of working with the plants than doing all the physical work to get the garden started in the spring. People want to cook and like learn about like health and wellness, so I'm trying to cater it towards that now.
That's good.
Thank
Vita,
you.
what's your place in
Mine?
the garden?
I just like to be outside. I just like the sun. I like to cook, so I do a lot of the cooking.
You have quite the opinion about some of the food too.
Yeah.
Good opinions?
Of course, good opinions. Of course. I don't know. I'm normally like seasoning.
Oh,
Yeah.
the seasoning part.
Yeah, you're the spice queen of the class for sure.
Hey, and who's the spice queen of the camping trips?
Oh, probably you, Sheree, actually. You've spiced up the burgers on the grill. Yeah, okay, that's right.
Oh,
You're the
that
spice
sound
queen,
good.
too.
Hey, because people be stingy with their seasoning. Can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have. You're not at our school of face-to-face garden, but do you have a garden at home?
I don't have a garden at home currently. I work for the Minnesota State Horticultural Society, and I manage the programs that we have, which is Garden in a Box and Minnesota Green. So you have garden beds from one of my programs. And I just moved to Minneapolis in November, and I live in a rental. And May got crazy busy, and unfortunately I did not get a garden started this year, but we do have a garden at our office where we grow tomatoes and kale and a watermelon.
Just one?
Yeah. But I've been gardening since I was a kid with my mom and then through college. So this is kind of the first summer without a garden, but next summer I will definitely have one.
I see you mentioned the garden beds and the what is it, the company again?
Yeah, so we're a nonprofit organization, the Minnesota State Horticultural Society. We're 158 years old.
What?
Yeah.
What? So what year would that? I mean, is that as long as the state's been a state? I mean, that's a very long time. It's like 1858 was when we started as Minnesota, but it seems like you've been around for a long time.
I don't think I can do that math in my
not
head.
gonna make you do the math.
But we started the Garden in a Box program in 2008, where we just gave away 50 garden beds, and now we give over 900 away every year. So we have 900 garden beds growing throughout the state of Minnesota this year.
Do you keep track of them?
Yeah,
that's what she's doing
Like,
today.
do you give it to what do you donate it to? Like schools, outside gardens,
Yeah, so-
colleges? Where do you guys donate?
Yeah, we give them to all sorts of different groups. So schools like yourself, we have a lot in the Minneapolis and St. Paul school districts. We also give to child care centers, nurseries, nursing homes, elderly living environments, apartments, churches, community gardens, pretty much you name it, we've had a garden there.
And how do you qualify to get the donation?
There's quite a few requirements, but we mainly look for groups who haven't had access to gardening materials before. So it's a totally free program once you're accepted, where you get the garden beds, the soil, the compost, the plants, the seeds, and education around it. So we're looking for groups who traditionally haven't had access or don't have the funds to start their own garden on their own without support, but also that they have the actual space to garden is kind of the two biggest things. Do you have a sunny location? Do you have grass? And do you have a team of people who can take care of it? Those are kind of the three biggest things. There's, of course, like other requirements that you have to stay in contact, so we can do site visits and chat about it. But mainly just if you have the space for gardening and you have the time and you haven't had access to gardening materials. Those are the kind of the main requirements.
And like, how are you guys able to give this away for free? Like, how are you guys getting funded?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So currently the program is funded by the Cargill Foundation, but we get grants we also get money from the state of Minnesota, private donors, but mainly through applying for grants. So right now it's paid for by Cargill.
Do you guys know about Cargill?
No.
What is that?
I don't know totally what it is, but it's a very large, like maybe global kind of agribusiness that does tons of production of food and seeds. And I've seen them they definitely do a lot of donations, and I've seen them like sponsored by Cargill. Like they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're not local. I don't know where they're based, but
I think their headquarters is in Minneapolis, if I
okay.
remember correctly. Yeah. But yeah, they're a global company, so they farm on a very, very large scale. But they also have their foundation, which really focuses on getting kids out gardening and eating healthy food and learning about nutrition. So that's kind of where our program intersects with their foundation, is they want to get more kids out gardening, they focus on kids, but really anyone out gardening locally and eating healthy food.
Yeah, do you guys plan on having this in the future?
Yeah, definitely. It's not going anywhere. It's our biggest program by far, and it supports thousands of gardeners throughout the entire state. So it's a 3-year program. So you get gardening for the first 3 years. The first year getting all of the materials, and then the next 2 years you're getting more compost, more plants, more seeds, more education. And then kind of after that, you can get more boxes if you want to expand your garden. But it's really, then you have all those materials. You at least have a garden bed and soil in your bed to keep gardening for as long as possible. So we're not planning on getting rid of it anytime soon.
What are some of the outcomes?
Yeah, I think the biggest outcome is, at least for me, is seeing kids learn to garden and connect that like a carrot in the grocery store was actually grown in soil that you can pull out in your own backyard and anywhere. But really kids are learning that, we like to call it garden to table timeline. So they're really learning that education, but also at the same time, even like little kids in kindergarten, maybe they don't know what a tomato plant is, but they're getting out, they're getting in the dirt, they're, being outside, they're learning, and just a lot of it we try to embrace curiosity and just let kids learn and grow and experience the garden in their own way from any age, because there's really no wrong way to be outside. I think whether you're gardening or just hanging out in that space, it has all sorts of benefits.
And what is your involvement in like the space? Like where do you stand? What do you do?
With the program? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm the manager of the program. Okay. So
the boss.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not much you really do, I'm guessing.
What was that?
It's not much, huh?
No. Is that how other bosses are? Like they don't do anything and all their workers do everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually...
Yeah. She said yeah. So she knows.
Yeah. Don't tell my boss. Just kidding. Yeah. We're a really small staff, so there's actually only 5 of us who work at the Hort currently. So I'm actually the only one who manages and runs these 2 programs. So with Garden in a Box, that I'm pretty much doing everything. I do have intern support from college students in the summer and sometimes into the fall, but for the most part, it's me doing that work. So I'm ordering supplies in the winter, coordinating distribution in May, shipping out materials to people who don't live out in the metro region. In the summer, I'm doing site visits like this one. I'll go out and see this garden, ask questions, sending people resources. I send out a monthly newsletter. What else do I do? Pay bills, pay invoices.
And then
answer
are you
questions.
part of the applications as people apply? You're kind of reading through all that and deciding?
Yeah. So, sending out the applications, reading them through, making sure people understand the program, and then filling out reporting information. So every year we fill out a grant report to Cargill, sharing the outcomes of what their dollars went to, of how many plants we grew and how many pounds of produce we harvested collectively, all 900 beds, how many people were in the gardens, kind of the impact of that. And then also we do some internal reporting to different things. I also, with the site visits, I'm capturing and collecting stories. So it's kind of hard to, how do we share stories of these 900 garden beds throughout the entire state? So going around talking to them, capturing those stories, and then sharing them with our marketing team to tell them in different avenues, whether that's in our magazine, Northern Gardener, on our blog, on social media, or connecting with like news outlets to share these gardening success stories.
How did you become inspired to work in this field?
I saw that question beforehand, and I've been thinking about it all day, actually. And I feel like there's two answers to that, of what inspired me to, one, care about the environment, and then two, what keeps me inspired. So one, my inspiration really started in high school. I had a really great teacher, Mrs. Haling. She taught me all about environmental science and really encouraged me to pick a career in my life that focused on the environment and caring for something larger than myself, and caring for my community. But that community came through the environment for me. And then in college, that care for the environment really established itself through gardening and farming, which is a huge part of my college learning experience, where I got to work on a farm for a semester, and that gave me college credits. So I was able to interact with my community in a really profound and hands-on way. So that's really how I got involved with the environment and food. And really what keeps me inspired is going to these site visits and seeing the success of the gardens, talking to young people who are just like so excited to be out in the garden and are like these like third graders taking my hand and being like, look at this kohlrabi I grew. Like just small things like that where you can like see the success of what you grew. And even though I don't have a garden myself this summer, but it feels like I'm a part of all of these community gardens throughout the entire state. So that's really what keeps me inspired, is the people aspect of it.
What do you do if somebody gets material that's damaged or it's been damaged throughout the years? Do you just replace it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we can replace it. We always get extra garden beds. So kind of throughout the 3 years, if something, storms, we've had crazy storms this summer, if something did happen, we do have extras to replace it. But if we're out of extras, we'll just kind of work with them to either pull funds from our programs or connect them with another grant that can get them gardening materials. And I have like thousands of seeds. So if your plants die, we can get you seeds to keep growing. Yeah. So that's one of my goals for first year, or anyone who's in their first or second year, is to get them a collection of seeds. So even after you're no longer part of the program, you can at least have seeds to get started. Or let's say it's June 1 and all your plants are knocked over by the wind. You can at least start some seeds in the ground.
Were you able to look at our garden? Do you take a look out there?
Yeah, we went out there briefly and harvested some basil, and it's beautiful. I can't wait to see and learn more about it and see how you keep growing over the years. It seems like such a special place to be in.
A lot of love from the students.
Yeah, I can just tell.
Any recommendations so far?
It seems like Alisa, you got a farmer on your hands, it seems. So I don't have any direct recommendations, but I think your fence is a great start. Keep those deer out. That's if you don't have a fence, definitely get a fence around your garden. But I think my biggest advice for growing gardens is to grow in small increments. It's really easy to just put a bunch of plants in the ground and fill that entire space and then not think about how you're actually going to take care of them. It seems really easy to put plants in the ground, but they actually do take a lot of work, a lot of weeding, a lot of watering. This summer was pretty rare with all the rain we had, but that's not always the case. So I feel like if you are going to grow quickly, is to have a care plan in place. So, but if not, I usually say grow small, little at a time.
Like start slow.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about like the mental health connection with garden. How do plants calm us down?
Is this for everybody, this
Yep.
question? I'd like to hear this from everybody. What do you think about my answer?
I don't know. I just get calmed down even from being outside. So
like just the fresh air.
yeah, the fresh air, the breeze, the sun, and then we grow the medicine stuff and the teas that we make. So that helps calm us down, I guess. I don't like tea.
We have made it a few times where we call it the calm down tea blend, where it's mint, lemon balm, holy basil. We made a different blend this spring, but well, we made a bunch and someone did drink it because it's totally out of the jar. So besides you, Vita, someone's drinking it. Might be
I don't
alone,
like tea
but
at
she
all.
likes tea. But that does calm us down because it's those are all nervine plants that help our nervous system. So
I feel like how it calms me down is like I like looking at like the prettiness of it, the positivity, like all the colors, all the flowers.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like bugs, like the bees getting their food and you know, and just everybody maintaining it right. I like to see a good maintained, organized garden.
yeah, I mean, I appreciate all the colors and all the different bugs. And even just with this school garden, all the students who find their way out there, like Vita, you're the sun queen. I mean, you're the spice queen, but you're out there in the sun, right? You're always sitting at that blue table that there's no shade ever, right? And you're always looking around trying to find some things, and you might get a little, you know, concerned about the bugs. But then someone's sitting on a bench in the flowers. I can't even see where they went. And then people are maybe sitting on our new benches. People are just figuring out their kind of spot in the garden. And, you know, with this expansion that we're going to have, double the space, we're going to have so much more area to explore. And, you know, you and I have been talking, Sheree, about like a plan for having more pollinator plants and
Yes.
a rec spot, like a rec court of sorts. So it's just like we have quite the opportunity to build out that space.
Yeah.
We do need a hammock.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Probably a few, because otherwise everyone's
In
going to
the
fight over
shade.
the one. Yeah.
No.
No, she
Okay.
put hers in the sun. Put some in the sun and some in the shade.
A lizard. I like to sit in the sun too. Yeah, I think for me, plants really help me calm down. They give me something to focus on, especially weeding. It's not always the best, but it's really satisfying at the end. So it's nice to just connect to something that feels greater than myself and is connected to this larger world, even though it's just like such a small plant sometimes.
Yeah, I love working with plants and herbs. And in this piece around like medicinal plants, that's something of my personal interest. I'd love to bring more of that into face-to-face of how to make different wellness products like the teas, the skin salves, different tinctures, all that stuff I do in my own life, like at my home garden. But I want to do that more with you guys and figure out like how we can take care of each other a little bit more with some of the plants that we can grow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we knocked two questions out in one. How does a garden make you feel? So how can gardening promote health? Like you mentioned the medicine and the
Like you
natural
can grow
herbs.
different natural herbs, and you can even go out in the woods and figure it out if you know what you're looking for. But like there's stuff that you can like. My grandma used to put like mint. She used to freeze mint, and if she like got headaches or something like that, she used to put it on like right here and in the back.
Instead of like a wet
Yes,
cloth.
I'm all
Yeah, instead of
for-
a wet
Yeah.
cloth.
I'm all for the
like
natural,
that.
for the natural herbs, for the natural thing. I don't like taking medicine anyways. So like
Yeah.
I'm always looking for like a tea or like something to like heal me. And like I just think like even like the eating wise, I feel like versus grocery store versus garden, I feel like the garden is way more healthy because like I heard even at the grocery store the stuff that I like be spraying out is not water. It's like chemicals getting put on the groceries. And
Yeah.
like I be seeing like people like lift it up. It'd be like all types of bugs under it and just nasty. People, it just be rotten, don't get taken care of either. It's like I think that comes in with the health part too, because you got to pay attention to what you're eating. It could be like processed, go through a lot of things before it gets to you. Like, and so many hands can touch it. You don't even know what you're eating. So, like, if you got a garden, you could just go out to your garden and be like, oh, I grew this every step of the way. I know what's in it. I know what hand's been on it. Just take it, rinse it off, and use it to cook.
Have you heard about like the watermelon stuff?
Oh, yeah, that the
Like the watermelon.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Tell
So
us.
like
I
somebody
know.
will cut up watermelon that they bought at the store, and instead of like breaking, like how it does, it'll just bend. Like it, like
It's a lot of
I
food,
could show
like
you,
being
but- Yeah.
like that I be
So
seeing.
questionable
Yeah.
source of watermelon out there
Yeah.
on the market. Okay.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Right, and people might just even think it's just meat that's bad. No, it could be fruits and vegetables
Yeah.
that's
even the
bad.
ice cream.
Yes.
Those ice cream sandwiches, they don't melt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I heard
Oh,
that.
that's-
I
It's like
heard
against
that.
chemistry. So that's strange.
I know exactly what she's talking about, too.
Are those ice cream bars that we serve here at Vita?
Oh, I don't know, but I got them one time, and I left one out by accident, and it melted.
What? How
was
long?
just there.
How long
I
was
fell
it?
asleep.
Oh,
I was
weird.
knocked out. I was gone, and it was there. I didn't eat anymore.
Nah, I believe her. It'd be so much stuff getting recalled. Like, there's this fish, salmon on it, and then, like, somebody left it out, and, like, they was, like, picking it up, and it was, like, nasty and gooey. It was just, yeah, it was nasty. Yeah. How can the outdoors affect learning?
Well, I'll speak to this because
Yeah.
this is like, before I came to face, I for the last like 15 years, I've been an outdoor educator. So I've been using the outside elements and sort of all the ways that we can recreate together, or like grow food outside, all of that. I've been an educator in that realm, and I used to lead trips in the Boundary Waters. I used to run a garden in Minneapolis where we worked with families and cooking, and I just think like getting out of the basement of face-to-face, getting outside, and applying a lot of the stuff that we're learning in maybe social studies, or maybe, the way that we're exploring different science themes in the science classes, like all of that can be applied outside. So at any point, for me personally, I'm just trying to like grab the teachers and the students, be like, let's go outside, let's apply that to like an outdoor element of sorts. And I'm really excited for that piece with this expansion of our physical lot, that we're going to like develop and kind of hold up this outdoor classroom model. So we're going to get everyone out of the basement here at Face to Face. So I'm really excited because there's just so much you can explore by being outside.
Especially when you be in this basement all day.
Yeah, it's just not good for your system to be down here.
No,
Yeah.
I like how y'all have the breaks and the outside, because every time I go outside and I look at the garden, and it just, like you said, just gives you like a peace of mind, just to smell different type of smells in the garden. It's nice. So we're going to move on to gardening tips. What are some ways to start home gardeners as a beginner?
Yeah.
Water your plants.
That's your
one thing I
feedback?
have to say. Water your plants.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you brought some home, right?
Yeah,
you
they're,
brought
no,
I
they're
think
no longer alive.
kale or collard greens. I remember
They're
that.
collard greens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what, you didn't water them?
I gave it to my mom.
She didn't
has a
water them or
plant.
what?
She has a big plant that she waters. She didn't water the small plant, so it didn't grow.
Yeah. I think for me, when I started gardening at home on my own, after I didn't live with my parents, to start in just a few containers, even just like in a window or on a back porch or anything, or find a sunny place. You can grow tomatoes in a pot with the container, some soil, the plant, and a tomato cage. And you can get a lot out of that. Or like an herb garden, you can grow in your windowsill pretty much all year if you water it. And, if it's going to be too cold, move it a bit of ways. But I think container gardening is a really easy way to get started. You're not constructing this big bed or having to buy a ton of soil, where you can just start with a few things you're going to eat and use, or maybe make tea out of if it's just mint, and kind of experiment and grow from there. And then if you're like, oh, hey, I can water my plants every day, maybe next year I can do a whole bed of carrots or something.
I think something else I'll add about beginning gardening is don't do it alone. I think I've been gardening for a long time, but I'm still always like, how'd you do that? Or what was it like to grow this? Or did you learn this? And I think just the benefits of like leaning on our community members or our elders, like you talked about maybe your grandma that did the mint thing. Yeah. Like a lot of our relatives before, like the generation before us, they grew a lot of food, or at least were around in the dirt a little bit more than this generation. So I just think as a beginning gardener, it's like looking to your kind of immediate family and friends, maybe your neighbors, seeing if grandma can tell you some stories. But I just really think like to not go in alone and try to do it all, because you'll probably, fail or get frustrated and quit on it, really. And I think just like whatever we can do to not quit on something is like asking other people, you know how to grow this? Like, like leaning into each other for sure. And I'm still doing that after gardening for like 15 years. So
yeah. I also think getting involved in a community garden in your neighborhood, or even starting one with other people, it allows you to be accountable, or then that space is already there. And most of the time it's a pretty either like free or low cost way to get your own plot. And most of the time there's also like they plan events for you, or say every Thursday we're going to take care of our garden. So you can just put it on your calendar, show up every Thursday, and it's not an extra thought or anything. I think that's a really great way to get started without like putting in infrastructure in your own house. Or like myself, I rent, so it's hard for me to put up a permanent garden bed. So I think that's also a great way to get started. And then you can learn from people who are in the plot next to you.
I don't know great ways to get started, but I do got a tip. Don't be lazy. Because people be like, oh, I want to start a garden. And then they turn out like it's harder than what you expected. So they lay it off and they be lazy. And they just think it's just about watering the plants, and it's not. So don't be lazy.
That's why I do it together.
Yeah.
Spread the word, work out a little bit.
Make someone else water your plants.
And that's a wrap.
Not your mom.
And that's a wrap. I'm Sheree.
Alisa.
Vita.
And Anna.
Thank you for watching our podcast.
Thank you for having me.